parts in order to reach this level, no?
On one hand, the neshama is higher.
Yeah, but and dafke that the guf is in the godus.
Right, because he has to deal with
It's not
the guf.
just the neshama is.
He has to be mashpi on the guf. He has to be mashpi on the guf. Somebody has to relate to the guf. But the neshama is nasal, venated from the guf. The neshama like drips the energy into the guf. And that's how he uplifts the guf. That's why the Rebbe writes in the Yom Yom, in the end, towards the end of the first order, that Rabbi Hillel Parich, and his yortzeit was this past Shabbos. He was chazering MaMarim. He would give over one of the chassidim of the Alter Rebbe, Mittel Rebbe Samach Tzedek. He would review Hasidic discourses, and then it says he came to certain places. The Yidden were like farmers. They didn't really relate to these, especially they were very deep Hasidic discourses. So he asked the Mittel Rebbe, should he still continue saying it? There's no one home. So the Mittel Rebbe said, that's v'nezlem min levonin. And the neshama still drips into the body, into the neshama, into the soul that is in the body, and b'meila, it actually gives the energy that a person should overcome obstacles and should be able to fulfill the commandments of Torah. A chizuk, it gives a strength in mitzvahs and mitzvahs. This is benegir to this inyan. Now the Rebbe says, what if someone is lower the level than this? Is v'negam kishalei giya ledarga anal. That even when he did not reach this level, klein nikloto adayan. Bisichli hasbara anal, that he didn't absorb yet in his mind this explanation. That the descent in this physical world is a descent that there's nothing lower than it. Especially a yirida that is in ikvese de Mashiach, that is in the Shabela Ma'atachten Gufa, that is in the heels of Mashiach, which is the time period right before Mashiach. And it is in this physical world, it's a very great descent, as it is mentioned in Shas, in the end of Seta. What it means, the generation of ikvese de Mashiach, the darkness of that time, as they see it also in a physical sense, as we see it in a physical sense, because it is for the sake of our elevation, so therefore this in itself is also not a Yerida. In other words, the Rebbe is carrying it further yet. Originally, the Rebbe said that since this is the only way to get to the elevation, so therefore we have to go through this descent. And now the Rebbe continues and says that the descent itself is also not a true descent, because this is it's a step to an aliyah. And here the Rebbe brings, this is the halacha that Rebbe brings now, Orah 61. Ukipsak din, when it comes to Shabbos, hamekalkal amenas l'saken b'sakenhu. When somebody tears something, or in order that he should later sew it up, here it's hamekalkal, he ruined something in order to correct it, it's considered corrected, because it is considered part of the correction. Since he wants and he's hoping to reach that level, through this he finds himself in this level. As the Baal Shem Tov says, in the place where is the thought and the wish of a person, the will of a person, where he wants to be Shaman Nimtza, there he is found. Which therefore, with this the Baal Shem Tov explains what it says in regards to the Malachim. Srofim eimdim mimalei. It says the Malachim are Srofim that are standing mimalei, higher than the heavenly throne. So the question is, how could it be? So the answer is, the heavenly throne is connected with Eilam Abriya, world of Briya, because they want to connect to higher, because they have a rotzen and a desire to higher. So it is considered like they find themselves higher. So therefore, it is said about them, Eimdim Mimale, that they stand higher. In Allah, it's also brought, the Rebbe brought it a few times, that we see it also by a native. When a person, for example, has to walk Shabbos, Erev Tchumen, so there's this 2,000 feet that he can walk from his house. What if he needs to walk more than 2,000 feet? So he has to place a certain food that will constitute his meal, and he puts it in a certain place, and from that place he can walk an additional 2,000 feet. Ames, it took a cubic feet. Ames. Alpaya Mama. What does this mean? That when he places the food over there, this becomes his house. And b'makom sheritzeinu shel adam shamu nimtza. So therefore, even though he's staying somewhere else overnight, Friday night, but because he wants to walk Shabbos from there, so this is considered his house. Makom sheritzeinu shel adam b'meila. What is left is simultaneously that he's allowed to walk, like from his own house, he's allowed to walk from there 2,000 amas. Because the chiddush is not only if he puts something there, even if he doesn't put something there. Even if he went out to put something there, it's considered already that he put it there. To that extent, it shows the impact of what it means designating a place as his place. So therefore, this is connected, this reflects that the thought of a person is there, so a person is found. Just to conclude with the inyan that I shared with Rabbi Berel Unick today, an interesting email, an answer that the Rebbe wrote to a shliach in Connecticut, and the shliach in Connecticut, talking here in the 1960s, seems like, or 70s, the language seems like it's in the 60s, that he wrote to the Rebbe that he's having problems with his meizdes, different schools, different... So the Rebbe wrote to him that I feel for you, and you know that I feel in your tsar, but you have to understand also you're not the only one that I feel for. I feel the same way that you have the problems. There are people in Kfar Chabad, in Nachal Asar Chabad, the Rebbe says this Meised, that Meised. In Australia, the Rebbe's mentioning different places. And then the Rebbe says, I'm not going to mention more specific, because you know the ones that are in charge there, and you might know exactly, what I'm referring to, and I don't want to be so specific. The Rebbe says, Abba B'meila, you should know together with that, to me, I have them in my mind, and I carry them at all times, not only as they find themselves, as if they would find themselves in my yard, but as they find themselves in my room. And I always see them in front of me. So the Rebbe says, this is the connection that I have with all the meisters, which was a chizuk, an encouragement that he will overcome all the obstacles.